friendly and so on. And to ensure that even though you may disagree with something, and I'm not suggesting to you that you will or you won't, but just to make sure that we are respectful of one another and we're able to convey our concern in a way that is, that is similar to how you would like to have someone speak with you and the conversation that we want to have going forward. Someone's looking at moving into the neighborhood to be a neighbor, to work with everyone, and everyone in the neighborhood is, welcoming that particular party who is interested in moving into the neighborhood. However, but there are concerns now with the application, and what we want to do is try to work through those concerns, which are valid concerns, by the way. And so we have to work through them to come to some type of understanding. And if we don't have an understanding, then we have to go through other measures and so on. I'm hopeful that the applicant can present to the community and explain why these variances are being asked for, and then for members of the community to express their concern. I know your street, I've knocked on the doors on your street over the years, and I know how well maintained your area is and so on. It is such a really, I'll use the expression, cool place, because all of you are very much in sort of concert with one another. The way you keep the street, the way you look after each other and so on, it is very consistent with respect to what your goals and objectives are in terms of wanting to maintain the sort of specific lifestyle that you have also come to know, but also the character, the very fabric, the essence of the community and so on. It's extremely important, and that's the conversation I know I've been having with members of the community and so on. So with that, I'd like to maybe just ask Mr. Ashby and Orbita, a combination, just to present to you what the variances are and giving you what the city's requirements are. And then we'll ask the applicant to actually give us a presentation and tell us why they're looking for the types of variants that they're looking for. After that is over, we will have the opportunity to ask the applicant as well as planning staff questions that you may have, and then we'll work through a process. Just a final point on that. I can't see everybody on my screen, but I will get to you. If you have a question, please use the hand signal, raise your hands to demonstrate to me that you have questions, and we'll get to you. We're going to get to everyone before the meeting concludes. Again, we have a stop at 7 o'clock, and so now I'd like to just turn it over to Mr. Ashby and Bita, and to have you just present what the applicant is looking to do with respect to the variance request. Then we'll have the applicant representative present to members of the community, and then we'll open up for questions. Mr. Ashby, over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Thompson. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure to be a part of this open house tonight. As I understand it, the applicant has submitted a minor variance application, and Bita is going to share her screen in a moment and go through specifically what applications, what the variances are. And for those that are not quite familiar with the planning process, we have a process whereby if you're building something or adding an addition to a home or business or what have you, we have certain performance standards that we have to adhere to through the zoning bylaw. There are instances where those standards cannot be accomplished. If they're minor in nature, that's something that the Committee of Adjustment will meet on and make a decision on. On the surface, this application, it seems minor in terms of the variances that the applicant is applying for, but staff have some concerns. We have some concerns with the intent of approving these variances, and we would like tonight, obviously, for the applicant to provide some clarity, not only to staff, but clarity to the community in terms of what exactly the intent is with these variances. So Bita will go over these variances for you, and I'll come back and I'll tell you what some of the red flags that staff has that would require further clarification. So Bita, if you're ready.
Yes. Okay, I start sharing my screen. Can everyone see my screen and the first page of the presentation?
Yes, we can see it. Thank you.
We can see you, Vita.
So this is our presentation for going through the variances for application 31 Kells Avenue, file number A0363. And we will go through the question and answer and the introduction of this application. This is the location of the site below Lawrence Avenue East, south of Lawrence Avenue East and west of Birmingham Road in Scarborough Center. This is the location of the property in the zoning bylaw map, which is zone residential with exemption to 240. And I will go through the variances. Renrik, would you like to continue over these variances?
Okay, so Deputy Mayor Thompson, specifically to your question in regards to what variances are being considered here, the applicant would like to construct a new 2-story detached dwelling with an integral 2-car garage. Specifically, the variances that they're requesting is number 1. I'm not going to go through the chapter numbers. That'll probably get a little long. But specifically, the minimum required rear yard setback in our zoning bylaw is 9.77 meters. What the applicant is proposing as a rear yard setback is 6.86 meters. So they're deficient. The second variance refers to the maximum permitted height of a dwelling. In this particular area, it's 9 meters. What the applicant is proposing for the dwelling height is 9.55 meters. Variance number 3, the maximum permitted height, variance number 3, the maximum permitted height of the dwelling is 9 meters, proposed is 9.5. Sorry. Number 4, the maximum permitted height of the exterior portion of the side main walls is 7 meters. The proposed height of the exterior portion of the side main walls facing a lot is 8.13 meters. So Deputy Mayor, these are the 4 variances that the committee has to consider, and what is basically the subject of this this meeting tonight.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ashby, and you've laid it out quite nicely. And now, as I indicated earlier, that we would like to invite the applicant and his representative to present to members of the community. So I'm not sure who is going to present. Mr. Ahmed, are you presenting, sir? You're muted. You're still muted. I'll just give us a second here. We'll just
yeah.
Okay, you're unmuted now. Yes,
okay,
we can. Thank you. Good evening and welcome.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor and everybody, and giving us this opportunity to meet you first and express and present this project. So here, I'd like to thank you, Randy, for explaining the variances. The first one, as we heard that our proposed is 8. Proposed, excuse me, we are proposing 6.86 and required is 9.77. But if you look at the drawing, this 6.86 at one corner, and the other corner of the house has 11.63, which is way more than 9.77. So because of the characteristics of the lot, it came up like that, because we had to make the building straight, and at one corner we are getting actually it was not our intention to like make it as a variance, but we had to do it because of the character of the lot. Most probably you can see that drawing that on the other side, as I said, it is 11.63, and the next variance is height, which is Required proposed is, sorry, I mean allowed is 9, and we are proposing only 0.55 meter. It's really, even I think it is really it's a minor in nature. It's not a very big variance, only 0.55 meter. And the next one is the similar number two and number 3 are same variances, so 0.55 meter. And number 4 is the main wall or side wall height. Yes, it is more. Of course, it is a variance, and it is the allowed is 7 meter, and we are proposing 8.13. This is a little bit more, and it looks, I don't know. I mean, so we can try our best to reduce this. And I don't know if anybody has any actually Brendick, Vita, if you have any suggestions, advice that we can incorporate, we'll of course we will work together to make happy other people happy. It's not something like we want to just do whatever we do it. No, we want to work together. So please advise if how we can like incorporate your advice suggestions. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much for your presentation, sir. May I just ask, what is the size of the total square foot of the residence that you're proposing to build for your client?
I don't mean to interrupt, but could I ask a question here?
Just one moment. Let me just get him to answer my question first, and then I'll come to you in a moment. Yes, we'll have an opportunity.
Our
Just give me a
floor
moment.
area is 3,600 something, 25.
3,600 square feet of space.
Right.
Okay, thank you very much for that.
No problem.
Sorry, can you, number 23, Kells, can you just let us know who you are, please? And,
Hi,
and
it's
you can
Mary
ask your question, please.
Kadakowski. Okay, I
Oh,
just
hi,
had
Mary.
a question because are we focusing just on the exterior of the house? Because it sounds like we're just focusing on the exterior, but it's like going to the hospital and saying you have a disease, but if you have like, you know, on the outside of things, everything looks fine, they send you home, but we're only concerned with the interior. We're not really concerned with the exterior right now.
So Mary, thank you very much for that. We're concerned with the 4 variants and the effects of the variants. So that would, I think for residents in the area, that also has an impact on the interior as well. The question is why the height, why the size, right? So I think if you have questions on the interior, I think it's fair to ask those questions, but the variances are the matters that are in front of the committee. That's what the committee will be looking at, the variances. And I think that we can all agree that with the variances, there are impact on the interior in terms of how things are structured. So do you have questions on the interior or the actual home itself? I've just asked about the actual square footage, which is 3,600 square feet. How big is your home?
Our home, how big is ours?
With a basement about 2,000 and something square feet.
Okay, so without the basement, I think we generally measure without the basement, but
I
okay,
think,
that's fine.
1,200.
See, I think the reason that all the neighbors are congregated here, I mean, it's not so much that we're taking issue with the exterior, it's the planning for the interior that's concerning us. So for instance, all the washrooms, how many people are legally going to be able to reside in this home? What are the impacts to us in terms of property taxes? You know, like are we gonna have to change the infrastructure of our street to accommodate these additional washrooms, right? These are the things that are concerning us right now.
Yeah,
And
and this is the opportunity to ask those questions. It's fair enough to ask those questions. So that is perfectly fine. So maybe I will ask Mr. Faisal to explain to us what is the sort of intention of the owner, and I have the name of the owner here. I don't know if he's on the call as well, but I think you've heard the question, which is, tell us about the interior. How many washrooms will be in this home, for example? How many bedrooms will be in? How many bedrooms will be on the first floor? How many bedrooms will be in the basement, for
Okay,
example?
first floor, there is no bedroom. And second floor, we have 4 bedrooms.
Okay.
And we have 1 to 3 washrooms on the second floor. And basement on the one side, we kept a provision for secondary unit, which is allowed in the zoning bylaw. But we are not applying for the secondary unit right now, but we mentioned clearly on the drawing that this is a provision for secondary unit, and we complied all the requirements for secondary unit
Okay.
in the basement. And basement has 2 washrooms.
Two washrooms in the basement.
Yes, 2 washrooms. One is for the proposed secondary unit for future because normally what we do that we don't apply for secondary unit right now. When the building permit is closed, then we apply for the secondary unit. But we mention on the drawing, we show all the calculation that complies with the secondary suite requirements, fire separation, area was everything. And the other side is for the owner's use only.
I'm sorry, it's for the, one second,
sorry.
please, Mary, 1 second. Let me just get, the other side is for the owner to use?
Right.
Okay, what does that mean? Is the owner using it
Like
as an
the
office?
owner will use the half of the basement. He's not going to, he's going to rent the approved secondary unit only. And the
Yes.
rest of the half, he will be living for himself, like for recreation and other stuff.
I see, okay, fair enough. Mary, another question, and then I'll go to others now.
Yeah, so
Go ahead, follow up, please.
I guess I missed the math, but how many washrooms altogether?
6.
6 washrooms? Because I saw something
think-
different on the plans. So I saw like 10 washrooms. I saw urinals in the basement. Is that that discrepancy in the plans that I saw? How did that come about?
No, there is, I told you that I mentioned that on the second floor, 1, 2, 3, right? On the second floor, 1, 2, 3, 4. No, sorry, on the second floor, we have 4 bedrooms. Sorry, my mistake. We have 4 bedrooms and we have 4 washrooms on the second. Each room has 1 washroom.
So how many washrooms altogether?
4.
4?
That's what you said.
4 in the second, yes.
No,
Four?
in the total 300.
In total is
6,
4, 5, 6, 7.
7, okay,
7.
all right.
Seven
So
washrooms.
then the numbers that you gave us before was not correct then. So now you have 7, because in that initially
No,
you gave us a
yeah,
lot.
on the
Okay.
second floor we have 4, and on the main floor we have a
Maybe we could put up the site plan of
yeah, you
the,
can open up
okay.
the drawings. I
of
think
the
we have
second
All right,
floor.
thank you very much. We'll put up the site plan and then we'll come back for questions. Thanks. Cynthia, we'll get to you next. We'll be the next person, okay? Thank you.
My hand is up as well, Michael.
Okay, let me just see you here. All right, so, okay, I've got Cynthia, and who just said their hands is up?
Kate.
Kate, okay, Kate, I don't see your hand up, but that's great. You
Okay.
told me. So Kate, yeah, go ahead, please. All right, so we're gonna put the drawing, the sketch up, and then we'll have questions.
So Deputy Mayor, thank you. While Bita is queuing it up to put
Mhm.
up the second floor plan, the ground
Yes.
floor plan, and the basement plan, what these plans that were submitted to the city illustrates are the number of bedrooms, the number of bathrooms on each
Mhm.
floor, and that just leads us to believe that what is the intent here ultimately of this dwelling, the single family dwelling unit?
Yes.
Is it going to be a single family dwelling unit with 1 family living in it, or is it going to be a rooming house? And
No,
this is
right.
where we need this clarification. So Bita, if you could start on the second floor and
Sure.
let's show how it lays out.
Okay. So I'll go to the second floor. I have the plans for each floor, and I have highlighted the number of rooms and washroom, the in-suite for each room. So second floor plan have 4 rooms, as you have seen, it's labeled here. And each room has its own washroom and bathroom, so it has its own ensuite. So 4 at 2nd floor, and this is the most updated plan. We have washroom and bedrooms on other floors. So this proposal have a mezzanine floor plan. So it has a room above the garage. It's a guest bedroom above garage. So that would be room 5 with 1 washroom here, with 1 ensuite here. And if we go to the main floor, well, 1 washroom, 1 kitchen, and the basement floor would have 2 washroom, 1 kitchen, and 4 rooms in addition to the recreational area. So should I go to the 2nd floor?
So Bita, just before you go, what's the room count now? Because the room count continues to grow.
Room count, if we exclude the basement,
Yes.
is 5.
5,
So
okay.
1,
Yep.
yes. 1 at the
And how many in the basement? Sorry to interrupt, but how many in the basement?
There are, I would call it room, not bedroom, 4 rooms, because these rooms are for gym, nanny rooms, office. So 4 rooms in the basement, 2 washroom in the basement, 1 kitchen. But if you review the proposal, start from the excluding the basement from ground floor. Ground floor has 1 washroom, living room, family room, kitchen. At the mezzanine floor, we have 1 room and 1 washroom, and at the 2nd floor, we have 4 room and 4 washroom. So in total, it would be 5 room, excluding a basement, it's 5 room and 5 in suite.
Sorry, you said 5 in suite?
Yes, so it's
Right, for the washrooms, right?
Yes.
Okay, yep. Okay, great. Okay, so let me go to Cynthia, and then after that we have Kate for question. Was there anything else that you wanted to add, Vita?
That would be it. I have the elevation drawings. If you
Right, and just before we go to Cynthia, I just want to make sure we understand again. So altogether, there are 5 bedrooms that are being shown that you've just shown us. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Plus the basement, the secondary unit, which isn't fully flushed out as yet, as Mr. Faisal has indicated that they'll come back later for that permission. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. And what is the potential for the secondary suite? How many rooms can actually be basically placed in that suite? Is that a 1-bedroom suite or is it a 2-bedroom suite? Mr. Faisal, that's
It's
up
2
to you.
bedrooms.
2 bedrooms. Okay, thank you for that. All right, thank you. So we'll go to question now. Cynthia and then Kate, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I just was clarifying because originally the mezzanine was skipped, but I just wanted to ask about that,
Yeah.
but it's already been covered.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Thank you. Thank you very much, Cynthia. Kate?
Okay, so I am interested in both the external and the internal because they sort of go hand in hand in terms of the impact. But before I go to the external, one of the things that I was wondering, because I was reading the bylaw 5692013, I believe that that's a bylaw under which this particular project is coming under, correct?
That's correct, Kate.
569. Okay, so I read one particular regulation, which I don't see it in the variances, but if and that's what I was wondering about. Under that particular bylaw, there is a regulation 10.5.40.70, and the first point of that regulation, I don't know whether you call it point or whatever, but there is something called front yard setback. It's an averaging in the residential zone category. And I don't see that being applied to this particular project. And this particular project is in variance of that particular regulation. And I don't see that being considered. So I was just wondering, it's more a question towards the planning.
Yeah, let's,
Okay,
Mr. Ash should be, we'll answer that. Go ahead, please, Mr.
Okay,
Ashby.
I'm through you, Deputy Mayor Thompson. You're correct. In a perfect world, when applicants come to the city for whether it's a variance application, a site plan rezoning, or an official plan amendment, we strongly suggest to them to do what we call a preliminary project review.
Right.
With that preliminary, I'm just going to call it a PPR, but with that PPR, staff in our buildings section identify where all the deficiencies are with their project,
Right.
with the applicant's project. They take that report and that forms the basis of their variance application. I don't know whether the applicant in this case has done that. I guess we'll ask them whether they have done that, but that forms the basis of where they need the variances.
Yes.
And they have an opportunity to correct it or what have you. But if they want to stick with the plan that they're submitted, this PPR will identify these variances. So as far as the front yard setback goes,
Yes.
I'm not sure whether they did a PPR, and I'm not sure whether that was flagged. But if in fact they do need a variance to the front yard setback,
Okay.
we will have to address that.
Okay. I did see the inspection report in the project, and that didn't point like they have gone through something called they have to go through the I'm not sure if I'm saying the right terminology here, but some sort of inspection to say that whether the project meets the variances that they have identified. They seem to have gone through that, and I didn't see this particular point being brought over in that report either.
Okay, so we'll certainly check that. Are you sure you weren't a planner in your other life?
No, I'm not a planner. I'm just a
Okay.
community resident who's very interested in my neighborhood, and I
Okay,
will.
we will definitely definitely look at that, and thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Okay, thank you so much. So going to internal, as you very aptly pointed out, that this particular plan from internal doesn't look like it's a single family residence. And, you know, we will find out more as the evening goes on. But what sort of also scares us is that even if, sorry, I am losing. Sorry, can you guys hear me? Because I've
We can
lost.
hear you. We can hear you,
Okay.
Kate.
Okay, so even if, for example, the owners say that this is a single family residence, but this would be for any investor, it would be not a single family residence from any definition, and they will want to have it because it can become a potential income property. So it's not just about now, but it is also future consideration that needs to be taken.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Kate. I can't see everyone on the screen at the moment, so I'm going to ask if folks have other questions, and maybe we can just take this down for a moment and bring it back up should we need it later on. So we just take the diagram that's on the screen, and then I can see more tiles and see more hands.
Okay, so Beta, if we could just remove the drawings, please, for now.
Sure.
All right, thank you. I see Sarah has hand up, and then we have 20 Kells, and I don't know, folks at 23, if that's a new hand or that was a hand that was there before. If you have a new hand, that's fine.
Yeah, no, that's
Pardon
for me, and my dad wants to say something.
Okay, that's
as
fine.
well.
I'll come back to you guys in a minute. Let's get some other folks. So we're over to you, Sarah, please. We're just unmuting you.
Hi,
You're
sorry.
unmuted now. Thank you. No problem.
Okay, just some thoughts when I was listening. First, I want to know, the owners don't seem to be present. Are they present at this meeting? Oh, I wonder why they wouldn't be present at a meeting with all the neighbors who are concerned about what they're building in their neighborhood.
So Sarah, just give me a moment. Let me ask. I do have the name of the owner here. I don't know if the owner is present. Mr. Faisal, is the owner present with you?
No, Mr. Deputy Mayor, I spoke to both of them. They're working. They
Oh.
They're
apologize
working.
for not being able to, even they didn't realize that will be a big, nice meeting. So,
Okay.
if, I apologize on behalf of them. They also apologize for not being able to.
How big is the family, Mr. Faisal?
The Mr. Golam, the owner is Mr. Golam. I believe he
Yes.
got 3 kids and parents.
How many kids? Sorry, how
I
many
think
kids?
I heard that he got 3 kids.
Three children. Okay.
And where
All
do
right,
they, where do these owners live currently?
Right now, I have to check the form. I don't remember. Most probably he's renting somewhere. I'm not sure where he's living. I mean, in the application form, maybe they have the address, but I'm not sure. Right. I have to check.
Okay.
Because I thought they already have like lived somewhere else. Sorry, my son's in the background.
Nice.
That's okay, Kate.
And I just wanted to
Oh, Sarah.
confirm that the property right now appears to be a rental property.
It's a rooming service currently.
Yeah. So
I have no
it-
idea because we don't deal with this, but this is
Oh,
for
that-
this house is for the owner.
Okay,
Okay.
that's why it would have been nice for the owner to answer
Oh, of
those
course,
questions.
yeah. That dream house.
All right.
Yeah.
And sorry, one other
Sorry,
burning
Kate,
question.
Kate, sorry. I'll come back to you, please. Let's just make sure that we can get to everyone. Come back to you a little bit later.
Yeah.
Sarah, I'll
Sorry,
get
my
back to you,
last,
and then
yeah,
go ahead,
I just
please.
have another point and another concern. So it was expressed that the building, it's being built in parts where just you're kind of going over the plan for the current part, which is 6 bathrooms. The future plan is going to add more bathrooms according to what I've seen in the basement plan, and that's where the 10 come in. So that's concerning. It seems like the owners and the planner know what they're doing to kind of separate it so that we think it's smaller than it is, but it does seem like it's larger than what they're actually expressing. It's kind of like, I don't know what to say, a ruse, like, okay, we're doing it in parts so that we think it's smaller than it is. I don't like that. I feel
So Sarah, let's
Yeah.
ask Mr. Faisal your question. What you're saying is that the partial development that you're seeing lends itself to the opportunity where more rooms and more bathrooms. So
Yes.
the structure that we think is going to be in place will not be the same structure when it's fully completed. Is that your question?
That's my question. Thank you for
Okay.
rewording it.
Fair enough, no problem. So I'll ask Mr.
Yeah.
Faisal if you could speak to that, please.
Thank you, Sarah, through the Deputy Mayor. Sarah, thank you for your concern. I mean, here is nothing is hidden. We are showing everything on the drawing. And as I mentioned that on the half, I mean, in the basement half portion, we are declaring that this is a secondary, we are proposing is for future secondary unit. We're not saying this and that, we're not hiding anything. It's very clear that we will be proposing as a secondary unit. So this is the main floor, and the second floor will be for the owner. And the half of the basement, we are declaring that this is, and we are complying all the requirements for city as a secondary unit. And the other portion, we'll leave it open as much as possible with a washroom for second, I know that there's you saw the drawing that is 4 bedrooms, but we have already revised the drawings. I don't know because it was deferred. That's why most probably we didn't submit this drawing yet. I can see it is in front of me. I can show you this. Can you move this box? So we don't have these four rooms. I know it's difficult to see, but I'm just trying to show you that we don't have this on the other side. We don't have those rooms. So we opened it up, and we are giving a washroom and the whole recreation area for the owner. So we have, I mean, anybody can apply as a, excuse me, Peter, sorry about that. So anybody can apply as a secondary unit. Even you can apply for secondary unit if you can comply with all the requirements. You can apply for secondary unit.
Okay. Thank you for that. So let me just make sure I've got the order here. So we're going to go to our next questioner is the resident at number 20. Then we're going to go to Ryan, and then we'll go to, I think it's Mary at number 23. It's Mary, and then Peter will come to you, please.
It was
Okay.
me and my dad, because my dad, I was gonna
Okay,
set
no,
him
that's
up on
fine.
a
That's fine.
separate
That's fine.
computer, but
That's
he
fine.
has
So
some-
we're going to go. That's fine. We're going to go to number 20, and then we'll go to Ryan, then we'll come to you, and then to Peter. You and your dad can actually split your time, okay? Go ahead, please.
Sorry, 19 Kells Avenue also had their hand up, so we're happy to talk.
Okay,
after.
that's fine. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity. Just a same question as who Sarah has it. As per the drawing, and then they're showing a 5-bedroom house on the upper level, and then basement also showing like a 4 bedrooms. So as in like an additional plan, the other side of the unit, secondary application. So total it looks like almost like 8 washroom and then 9 rooms. And then they talk about like a say that office and kind of thing. This is going to be a rental property or like a kind of consideration for our like area that's going to be come up.
Mr. Faisal, that's a question for you.
Oh, okay.
Is this going to be a rental property?
Not through the Premier, Mr. Sorry, I cannot see your name. Sorry.
Call Dinesh is fine.
Vinesh. Okay, Vinesh. No, it is again. I mean, half of the basement will be for rental. Not the whole building is for rental property. It is for the owner, and the owner needs the needs. We don't have limitation of in the code or bylaw. We don't have any limitation of these nowadays. I don't know if you have seen the recent floor plans of the new development houses. 99%, or maybe I should say 100% houses has 4 bedrooms in the second floor with 4 washrooms, because their family are growing, that they want bigger space. So this property specifically answer your question. This is a this building is for the owner's use, and the half of the basement is for rental, nothing else. And we are declaring that very clear and on the drawings, and clearly even on the description we are declaring this. It's very clear.
As per beta presentation on the drawing is showing 5 bedroom, 5 washroom on the top levels.
We can have 5 bedroom, we can have 6 bedrooms, 7 bedrooms. It's not affecting the zoning bylaw. It's not affecting the building code.
The reason that a question has come up for like a more room and stuff, that's going to be on your rental property.
So what do you do if you have more family members, if your parents are there, if you have
as per your concern, you said it's 3 kids and 5 parents. So the question has come up. This is what is the scary part of like everybody like raise their hand because of the number of rooms you guys are building on the unit, like a residential area. They become like as like a commercial area that's going to be affecting the neighborhood. So
I understand.
All right. So
we are like a young generation.
Can I just
now.
intervene? Sorry. Let me just intervene here, sir. You're asking the question with respect to the number of rooms lends itself to what would be perceived to be a rooming house. And Mr. Faisal, could you please answer that question, please? And then we're going to go to Ryan, who's the next questioner.
Okay, thank you, through Deputy Mayor. It is not a rooming house. It is a very ordinary residence with 4 bedrooms or 5 bedrooms for their family members. And I'm clearly again stating that is a double dwelling house. Half of the basement will be rented and proposed afterwards. And right now we are mentioning on the drawing and description.
So was it fair to say, sir, that based on what the members of the community and based on your own plans, and you've also indicated that the owner has 3 kids and obviously a partner, so that's basically 5, assuming, I don't know what the relationship is, assuming that they all, the wife and husband has a room, and then also the 3 kids have a room, there's still a lot of more rooms. So you're saying it's a growing family? Is that part of what you're saying?
They need it. They have parents there. Right
okay,
now, their parents.
Plus the parents. So this is a new addition now. So plus the parents. Okay.
I mentioned that already to Dinesh. Sorry.
Okay. I didn't recall that, but that's fine. Sorry. Okay. All right. So we're going to go to Ryan now. Ryan, over to you, please. Your questions, please.
So am I clear? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you, Ryan.
Tradesman, I'm an electrician by trade, so I'm familiar with the construction industry and everything. What's the justification for all the washrooms? I know the basement's going to be, I guess, partly unfinished, and then you're going to apply for a permit to complete it later on. But in the basement alone, we have a washroom in the gym on the west wall. We also have an additional washroom in front of the kids' playroom. Like, I know as many residents in 5 Kells as expressed the concern. Like, can you provide a more like reasonable answer or clarification for the reason and justification for all these washrooms? Like, it is a growing family, but to have to say 10 washrooms in a house is quite excessive, even
They
for
want to make it into a
a
rooming
growing
house,
family,
right?
right? And also, how many entrances would they be? Are they planning on? I see only one side entrance now on the proposal, on the drawings. Will there be more side entrances added later in the future? And also, just to wrap it up, like, I know the drawings say one thing. It's easy to add to say this room's going to be a gym, but it can obviously turn into something else in the future, because like it's easy to put any label on a drawing at this moment and at this time. So if Mr. Faisal can please clarify, like, what's the logic behind all these washrooms? Because even for modern houses now, yes, 4 bedrooms is normal, but to have 10 washrooms in a house, I must say, is quite excessive for somebody in the construction industry to see that many washrooms in a house.
Yeah.
Through Mr. Deputy Mayor, thank you, Ryan. I don't know how many houses you have seen recently. I'm doing hundreds of new houses, and most of the houses, as I mentioned before, that has 4 washrooms, 2 washrooms in the basement. And again, I'm most well, this is 5th or 6th time that I'm explaining. We have 2 washrooms in the basement because one washroom will be used for the proposed future secondary unit, and another washroom will be used for the owner. Now, if you ask me that why we need in the basement washroom or another washroom, I really cannot explain, because if the owner wants for it, that yes, I have a recreation room, I will have party there, and I need a washroom there, because so that when we are using the space, we don't need to go up to use the washroom, and which is makes sense. So that's why they need a washroom there. And I cannot tell them,
This is
okay.
the builder, and he's trying to guess what the owner.
Excuse me.
Sorry, there's another
using all these
conversation that's
washrooms for.
taking
This is
place.
just the builder
Please,
talking.
hello. 437-9744442. Could you just mute your mic, please? Thank you very much. We can have you ask questions in a moment. Please continue, please, Mr. Faisal.
Sorry, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So that is the main reason that they want to use that washroom in the recreation area. Well, as I said, when they're having party or having guests, so that they don't need to go up, and they can use that washroom. And it is happening many projects. This is not only the one. It's many projects people are doing the same. We are getting permit too, and they're already building the project. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I'll also caution you, Mr. Faisal, that it is happening, but what we're finding is that as part of that process, those properties are becoming rooming houses. No. Just wanted to add that.
I understand. Sure.
Thank you very much for that. Mary, you and your dad, and then we're over to Peter, and then 19 Kells.
Okay, so I have some very specific questions. So what is the total, I'm just trying to wrap my head around these washrooms, but what is the total legal capacity of residents that are going to be legal, like the legal amount of residents that you can actually have in this property structure, this proposed structure? So, what is the maximum amount of people you can fit in this house legally without it being a fire hazard? My other question is, do we have to change the infrastructure for for plumbing, for the piping outside? And I'm assuming, with that many new washrooms, but are we gonna have to foot the bill for the property taxes? The other question I have is, you said there's gonna be a 2-car garage. Are we being realistic here? Because if this is gonna be used as a rooming house in the future, are you really gonna have 2 cars if you've got 10 washrooms in the house? Like, normally you have a car for every 2 people in the house. And if you can fit, like, say 20 people in the house, we're looking at a lot of cars, right? The other question I have is this the same owner as the owner at 15 Kells? Are they planning to do the exact same thing at 15 Kells, if it is? And the other question I have is, same as the other guy, but if they sell this house, you're saying the owner plans to live here, but if they sell this house is primed as an Airbnb, as a multi-tenant structure. All the concerns that we have as a community are surrounded around that kind of structure. So we're going to have a lot of traffic. We're going to have a lot of, all these things that go on the street.
Yeah, okay, so thank you for that. I'm going to ask Mr. Ashby to answer the first two portions. I'll come back to your dad in a moment. We'll come back to your father in a moment. We'll come back to your dad in a moment. Mr. Ashby, if you could just answer the two questions with respect to Mary's question. And then Mr. Faisal, I guess the question around the parking in the garage and so on, if you wish to comment on that. Mr. Ashby?
Well, thank you, through you, Deputy Mayor Thompson. There is no, as far as I know, there's no bylaw limit in terms of how many people live in a house. Individuals live in a house, right? There's no restrictions. There's a practical restriction that's in terms of, you know, the floor area and so forth. But the bylaw doesn't limit how many individuals could live in one house. Sorry, the second question was? What was your second question in terms for planning for myself?
It was for the infrastructure, so the piping.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the services, Mr. Ashby, the services such as sewer, water, garbage collection, for that matter, all the services.
Yeah. So again, I guess you know, in terms of the hard services that are there already, this would include your water, this would include your sanitary and so forth. That's built already. I would guess it would take probably a lot more houses on the street before you have to start looking at increasing the capacity of those services.
These are single family units and the.
Okay, sorry,
sorry,
Mary, sorry. I understand. Look, Mary, here's what I'd like to do. We still have a number of people that we have to get to. We still have your dad with questions. And so let Mr. Ashby just answer that last question. We're going to go to your dad. And then the next person that we're going to after your father is Peter. And then number 19, Kells, and then Rod. I have you on my list. Go ahead, please. Your dad, if your dad could go ahead, please, Mary.
Okay, I'd like to say something. I bought this house 1967 and I was single. I wanted to raise my family on a nice street with a lot of children, and they played in the circle. It was beautiful. And then I've seen winters and I've seen summers, but we had lots of winters and you can't get out from the streets because it's too much snow. And now there's lots of cars parked all over the place, and the snow plows can't plow the streets. And there's lots of cars that are never being moved on the street. Now, if we have a fire someplace along the street, and from Brimley you can't come in, and in the circle, if there's a fire in there, people will be roasted like roasted chickens.
All right. Well, okay. Thank you for the comments, sir. I can help you with the parked cars, so we can deal with that, not so much as part of this issue, but we can deal with that a little bit later on. So I'm going to now move to Peter, and the comment you've made is very valid, but we can deal with that separate and aside from this application. The next questioner is Peter. Peter, go ahead, please.
I agree with what Mary and her dad have to say. The problem is, like, every adult is going to have a car. Now, we already have a problem with the cars. There's like 4 cars parked. The one is usually right on the front lawn, and the other 3 are right along my property line. So every time they get in and out of the car, they have to stomp all over my driveway, and that packs down the snow and turns it into ice, which makes it slippery and dangerous. Now, it seems as if, according to the plans, that most of the cars will be on the other side.
Okay, is that a question, Peter?
Well, I think that's the fact.
Okay, no problem. Mr. Ashby, do you want to speak to that? Is the garage then on the other side?
I believe
because Peter's the neighbor.
Yeah, Peter, you're the neighbor on the left or the right?
33.
But which side? Are you on the right side, left?
numbers lot 17.
Yes, but are you on the left side or the right side?
The left side, like coming towards my house from the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm on the left side.
Okay.
And I would like to
fantastic.
know
Thank
how
you.
close they're going to get to my house, to
Yeah.
to my border. And then they're
Okay.
going to be overlooking.
Okay, so Peter, there are a couple of issues with couple of questions that you asked all at once. So the garage on the site plan for the home is on the left side of the house. Typically, you know, you have your cars in the garage if in fact the garage is being used for parking. A lot of people have just a whole bunch of junk and so forth in the garage, and that forces the cars on the driveway. You are correct in terms of you know, when people move into these houses, at some point, you know, everybody, not everybody, but at some point there's going to be more than one or more than two cars. If there's an issue with on-street parking, you could call bylaw services, or you could go through your counselor's office and report them, because overnight parking isn't permitted, particularly when it snows. There is an issue. Your cars shouldn't be on the road, you know, during a snow event. So there is mediation for cars parked on the street.
Can I say something?
Or on the lawn.
Or yes, or yeah. So when parking on the lawn is illegal. You know, that's more or less what we call front yard parking. That is illegal. You're only allowed to park in the width of the driveway facing your garage. So no cars should be parked on the lawn.
Okay. All right.
And
so,
if you notice cars parked on the lawn, there's a process to report that, and our bylaw services or bylaw enforcement will come out and deal with it.
Yeah, Peter, just call my office when you see that, or if that is a complaint that you wish to make, we can deal with that. All right, so we're going to go.
Our
Go ahead,
driveways are conjoined as if it was one huge driveway, and then there's a curb in between, but they don't obey by that always. Sometimes they're over the curb onto my property. And not only that, but their garbage is overflowing. And I saw a raccoon come out of one of the garbages, and the guy was just standing there, didn't know what to do. And the raccoon just knocked it over. And there's garbage everywhere, and the squirrels get in there. And that's only with 4 people in there now.
Got you. Okay. All right. So we're going to move to number 19 now, and then Rod will be the next person after. We have actually reached 7 o'clock, but obviously there are people with more questions. So I'm going to allow for the questioning, and then we will sort of have a conversation in terms of the next step, in terms of where do we go from here and so on. So as for you to have an expectation in terms of what's going to transpire. So I'll move over now to number 19, Kells, who you've been waiting patiently. Thank you very much. May I just ask you to introduce yourself, please?
Hi there, thank you. My name is Kelly, and I'm speaking on behalf of my mom, Anna, who lives at 19 Kells. I actually grew up on that street. So I now am married with 3 kids of my own, and I actually did build a house. Bought a bungalow, built a house, went through committee of adjustment and all that. And I am a family of 5, and I can confirm that I do not have 10 washrooms in my home. And I think the main concern I think that everybody is talking about, and the theme of the evening really is that number one, when we originally saw these plans, I counted out, I would say 10, if not 11 bathrooms. As well, there were many kitchens in this house, which made us realize that this is not a single family home, even for a family of 5 that's growing, with perhaps in-laws or parents who come in to move in, right? So you could clearly see from the plans, the way that it was laid out and split, that it was for multi-unit housing and for many people to be living in that home. So that's sort of like the big red flag I think that the neighborhood has as far as a concern goes. And then all the other items that come out of that, as Mary was saying, was infrastructure and parking and capacity and all that. There's it's a street with lots of kids playing on the street, all that. And then my other big concern really is to the developer, is that if you are building a home and this is your client, you know, with all due respect, you should know exactly how many bathrooms are in that home, you're working very closely with them as a client, what they intend to do with the home and all that. So my concern is that the responses are, you know, unsure, they're changing. So that's sort of a red flag on our end. And also the basement, whether it's 5 bathrooms, 4 bathrooms, let's all be honest, you do not need 5 bathrooms in a home, even if you're going to rent it out separately as what? Is it a single unit then you're gonna be renting it out to? Multiple unit, three separate units in there. And we all know, because I've gone through the process, once you've built your home and the top 2 floors are built and you have the basement done and it's roughed in, you can go in and you can do whatever it is that you need to do without even pulling a permit.
Thank you very much for your comments and your suggestions there. All right, so let me just go back to Kate. Earlier, you had wanted to ask an additional question. I indicated that we had to get through the folks who had to ask their first question. So I'll come back to you one more time, and then we're going to wrap this up very shortly. But Kate, I'll come back to you for an additional question. Go ahead, please.
Sure. Is that so? One other question I had is that we would like to know, and I know the owners are not here, which is you know, amazing when we have all the residents here. What I would like to know is that what other properties these same owners directly or indirectly own on Kells Avenue. So I know I'm not going to get that answer today, but we need to get that answer, you know, from the owners.
Okay. Thank you very much for that, Kate. I can't compel them to provide that answer if there is an answer, but that's helpful as to the concern. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, I have to tell you that at this juncture in this meeting, I am as puzzled and unclear as to what's actually being built here. I'm puzzled and unclear as to the number of bedrooms and the number of bathrooms and the requirement and so on. Mr. Frizzell is providing us with the information that he has, and I'm not questioning the presentation that you made to us, sir. That's not what I'm questioning at all. However, you are a designer. You're asked to design a property and build according to your client's instructions and so on. What is clear to me and to the residents in the conversation that we've been having now for the last number of weeks, it is of concern as to potentially what's going to happen here. We don't have the answers that we were seeking from tonight's meeting. Mr. Frizzell, you indicated to us and you were showing us a diagram that you've made some changes, but I'm not privy to those changes, and apparently neither are members of the community. Planning staff don't appear to be privy to that as well. I'm going to suggest, because there's no way that we can come to a conclusion tonight, there is just a great amount of uncertainty. I'm going to suggest, Mr. Frizzell, to you and your client that we have another engagement, another meeting to have a conversation. It would be great for you to submit to the PPR with respect to, you know, giving the staff the ability to go through your application and to work with you and your client in order to confirm and affirm exactly what is going to take place at 31 Kells. Members of the community, there are a variety of things that are limiting in terms of my ability and that of the staff. And so, for example, we go through this process with respect to the Committee of Adjustment. The applicant can appeal whatever decision should they be turned down, or we can appeal it as well, depending on the decisions that are made. I think it would be best for us to take a step back and to work through the concerns that have been very, very clearly articulated this evening by members of this community, and particularly on the street, indicating their concerns. There is, I think we can all agree that there's a lot of uncertainty with respect to what is actually being proposed. I think Mr. Vassell has done his best to try to explain, and I see lots of hands coming up, but at the moment I'm not entertaining any hands at the moment. So just hold them down for a sec. I'll come to you in a moment. But it seems to me that there's still lots of uncertainty, and I think that we need to have an opportunity to take some more time and to ensure that the questions and the concerns of members of the community have with respect to this application and the variance requests are basically thoroughly thrashed through in order to ensure that there's a level of comfort and so on. I'm aware that there are a lot of properties that are being bought in our community and that are being torn down and developed. I've seen in many instances, and I've been told, by the way, not suggesting that's what's being told to me tonight, but I've been told that, you know, the development's going to take place, it's families going to live in, and approvals are given, and guess what? Families are not living in there. It is, as we had suspected, turns out to be a rooming house and so on. We've had many situations. Again, I'm not suggesting that's what's here, but really, as has been pointed out by Mr. Ashby, that there are sufficient red flags here to warrant further investigation, to warrant further discussions so that we can come to a conclusion that would help put the community at ease and also allow for the applicant and his representative to proceed and to develop and to get the approvals with the concurrence of members of the community. At this time, I can tell you that what's being proposed is alarming to me. And at this time, I can tell you that what's being proposed, if it is the intent of the applicant to proceed in spite of the concerns that members of the community have, I can tell you that there'll be strong opposition to me. There'll be strong opposition in support of with the community, and there'll be strong opposition that I would ensure that at City Council that would be there as well. So I think we need to take a step back. We need to take some time in order to work through this and to again come back to the community with a plan that's much more in keeping with respect to addressing the concerns that we have heard from the residents this evening. So, Mr. Frisell, I'll come to you in a second, but I'm going to go to Mr. I think May Ching. May, you have not spoken. I'm going to give you the opportunity, and I'll give Mr. Frisell basically the last word, and I'll wrap up, and I'll just comment a little further. You may proceed, sir. Go ahead. I'll just unmute you, and you may begin.
I can go ahead to talk. Okay.
Yes. Thank you, May. Sorry, May. Thank you, May.
While I have you, Mr. Thompson, I want to mention about the snow removal. Well, the city used to do a beautiful job in cleaning the snow every time after
yes.
snowfall. But this year, because of the extra cars on the street, the city just cannot do a proper job in removing the snows from the street. So it just creates problems for all the folks to walking in and out.
Yes, May.
The city have problems cleaning the snow because cars park on the road. So
yes, thank you.
Problem. If we have a bigger home, more cars, then we have a bigger problem.
Yes.
So that's my concern.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Frisell, I'm going to come back to you, sir, and give you the last word, and I'll just wrap up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for giving me this opportunity. I just quickly go through a couple answer. I'd like to answer a couple of questions. For example, 23 Kells Mary. She has concern about the driveway, about the garage, parking garage. Again, I mean, it's not a single dwelling. I've been clearly mentioning that it's two family dwelling. One is for the main floor and second floor, and one is for the basement. And we complied all the requirements, like the parking. There is 2 parking. We need 3 parkings. 1 dedicatedly for the secondary unit, and 2 we are giving 2 for the main occupant, the owner. We have more than 3 parking there. So this complies. Please don't worry about the parking. Nobody's. I mean, they don't need to go park on the street because they will have enough parking. And Mr. Peter, you had a concern of how close the house is, the proposed building and your building. The corner is 24 feet plus 24 feet, minimum 24 feet distance from the new house corner. and your existing house corner. And Kelly from 19 Kells, again, I mean, it is not a single dwelling family. We are clearly mentioning that it's for two family unit. And again, the same question you asked about the parking space. And now, Kate, just 1 second. Yes, Kate had a question that how many like the owner has any other property on the street or not. Honestly, I don't know. It's not possible for us to know all these details. So if it is really a big concern, I can ask and I can answer this publicly to everyone. But now my last words are, this is a very typical application, typical house that we are doing all the time. And I don't know, if community planning, if Honorable Deputy Mayor, or if our respected neighbors, they want to swear like on in something writing that it's not a rooming house. It's not a rooming house. A rooming house is not like that. It's not a rooming house at all. And for an example, we don't know. I mean, somebody asked this question: if he sells this house, I mean, nobody knows. I mean, what after 10 years, what will happen after 10 years, if he will sell it or not, we don't know. And based on that uncertainty, we cannot take any decision right now. But if you are concerned about the washroom, I mean, it is, everybody has a different. Kelly also mentioned about the number of washrooms. Everybody has a different requirement, right? Some people I have seen that they spend their whole life with one washroom. It's fine. I mean, they're okay with it. They don't need more than one washroom. They spend 50 years in their house with one washroom. But somebody can if their requirement is like that, we cannot say, because we're not going violating any code. We're not violating any zoning by law by giving extra 5 washrooms. Now, if they use this as a rooming house, you are the neighbors. Like Peter, you are the next door. You can see that. Just call Mr. Deputy Mayor's office. They will take action. There is a very law enforcement people are there. They will take action.
There's already 5 people renting in there.
No, I'm talking
All right,
about
Peter.
the house.
Thank you.
I don't know what is happening there right now because we don't know.
I can tell you.
That. So if let's say if 5 people they're using it as a rooming house, just you can call them. They'll come in like 1 hour and they'll take action immediately. Honorable Deputy Mayor, he's here. I mean, he knows very well. So we are just suspecting. We are suspecting that these will be a rooming house, but it's not. We are clearly identifying that, okay, this portion of the house will be renting out, and this is our house. And it's very clear and specific. So if I suspect, I mean, I don't know what to say for that, but I can assure you that if you want anything in writing from the owner, we'll do that. I'll talk to the owner. We can give something in writing for your peace of mind. And again, for basement, the half of the portion, as I said, I'm sorry I couldn't show you properly, but I'll submit that floor plan. They need basement. We opened up more, opened up everything as a. And the next thing is, you mentioned most probably Rendrick Ashby mentioned about the PPR. Deputy Mayor most probably, but we went through already all this process. We went through the complete zoning review and comments. We addressed their comments. So if we talk about the variances only, I thought that today we'll be mostly talking about the variances because we had objections about the variances.
So
we have,
Mr. Faisal, I'm going to ask you to wrap it up, sir.
Sure, I just take only 10 more seconds. Sorry about that.
Okay.
So we have only 4 variances. If you can, please, I mean, community planning, if you advise us to reduce any variance, we're happy to do that. We'll reduce the variances. We'll try our best to work together. It's not, I'm not defending, I'm not opposing any of your objection. I respect all of your concerns because this owner will be living with you guys, not with me. He will be living with you and he will be your neighbor. So of course I respect you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your presentation there, Mr. Faisal. So members of the community, ladies and gentlemen, as I said earlier in my remarks, at this time, I'm not certain as to what is essentially being proposed. There is, in my view, there's some confusion. And I think at the same time, there is concern and uncertainty. What I would like to propose that we do going forward, Mr. Fussell, with you and your client, I and my team and planning, we would like to meet with you and team to discuss further this application to ensure that we bring forward the concerns that I've heard. And I've been taking notes, and I know planning staff and my staff have been taking notes as well of all the concerns that have been raised this evening. And Peter, thank you for your concern about the parking. And we've heard from the problem house that you just mentioned about 15. We will look into those sort of things. Mr. Fussell, I think you can appreciate the fact that this is a tremendous area, a beautiful street, as you have seen and heard from the residents who have been extremely respectful to you in the presentation this evening. They're simply concerned with respect to their street and their neighborhood. And that is something that we have to ensure that we don't take for granted. That is something that we have to ensure that we take the time, we take the effort to work through their concern. Nobody is saying not in my backyard, but what's being proposed, the way it's being presented, it leaves a lot of questions. And I don't believe that we've got all the answers in tonight's meeting. And so what I am going to suggest is that we actually convene an opportunity to meet with you, your client, and our planning team and staff, and we will work through a process in which we can address the concerns of the residents. You've offered, for example, where you say, well, I would like to suggest that, you know, we will put in place a rider, if you will, that suggests that this will not be a rooming house. But here's the thing, that's interesting, that's fine, but that rider wouldn't go along with the title of the home, right? So for example, if the home was sold, that requirement does not go with the home. And I appreciate what you're saying to us this evening, but I don't think we're there at this point where we can say, you know, we endorse or support the variances. I mean, variances are one thing, but it's the application of the entire property in terms of the impact and the effect of how the variance create a larger property that then allows people to do things on the inside of that property, which is of concern by members of the community. And that's a concern I've heard here tonight. So members of the community, I would ask your indulgence. I will meet with Mr. Fussell and the owner and planning staff, Mr. Ashby, who has got many years of experience as a planner for the city of Toronto. I know as well we are joined by Rod Hines, who is also one of the planners for the city of Toronto. We have Bita is with us as well. So we have three really experienced planners who are aware as to how planning is done for the city. Mr. Fussell obviously is an experienced designer. There are concerns here, and I think that your concerns are very valid. And I think that before this application goes forward, we have to address them. I will say that what I've heard from you, both in terms of, you know, the conversation with my staff and just in general, I've not heard that sort of, you know, people raging and saying, not in my backyard. What I'm hearing is that there's an opportunity, certainly at that site, but the opportunity that is being presented to members of the community is not in keeping with respect to what is their intention and their desire. So we will, again, have an opportunity to meet once we have been able to meet with the applicant, his representatives, planning staff, and so on. We will again host a meeting like this where it's open to members of the community and folks on your street. At that time, I'm hopeful that we will have a more concise plan that really, you know, identifies and demonstrates where things are and the number of bedrooms, the number of bathrooms, and the explanation. And I know that Mr. Fussell has been very clear. There are as of rights and what his client is entitled to do and so on. And he is right in some of those instances. But I also think that the community has a right to know and to be aware as to what exactly is going to be built at 31 Kells and so on. And at this time, again, as I said, I am not certain as to what is going to be there or how it's going to be done. So I will conclude this meeting by saying that I will ask for your patience, but we will definitely come back to you again once we've had some opportunities to discuss further the application for 31 Kells. So it's not a done deal, as some people would like to say. I am hopeful to work with the applicant and his representatives and staff and to come back before this matter goes to a committee of adjustment to you to have more information for you. And it would be my hope that obviously before that we come to the meeting, you'll have all the drawings and all the details, and the accuracy and the full details will be there for you to review, along with others that you may talk amongst yourselves as neighbors, and I will get back in touch with you. I don't have an actual date at the moment, but as soon as I'm able to put that together, I will do my best to bring that forward as quickly as possible, and then we will get together to further have some discussions and to conclude with respect to our views and our position on where we go from here. And I think that's the best I can offer to everyone this evening. And so with that, I am going to close the meeting and to thank you all very much for participating in the meeting, and that you will expect that I will be coming back to you again before this matter goes anywhere. And so that's what I would like to simply suggest. We had scheduled the meeting for 1 hour. It is almost at the half an hour mark, so it's an hour and a half. I wanted to make sure that we took the time and to make sure that we were able to allow you to be heard, and that you have been, in my view, very cordial, very respectful, and this has been a fantastic meeting. I don't think we have all the things, the information that we need at this time, and so I want to thank everyone for attending, our city staff, and also my staff, or the EHOR ones, and Keisha Francis, who are on the call as well, and Mr. Ashby, Mr. Hines, Bita, and others. So, and Mr. Fasal, thank you very much for being here. And so to everyone in the community, I can't tell you how proud I am of all of you, how you presented yourself, how you've comported yourselves in that this is very important to you all, but you've done it in such a dignified way, and a way that really speaks to what your intentions are, which is to welcome someone in the neighborhood with an understanding, a clear understanding as to what they're going to do, because you have to see how that impacts your future and your families in the community and so on. So I want to thank you very much for that. And I will look forward to seeing you as soon as I can. I'll be in touch with you, okay? Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good night. Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
Bye-bye.
Thompson.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Everybody, thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.